right here.
The pharynx.
This little thing I'm holding up. See, a little bone there, looks like a little H.
Oh, hyoid bone.
Hyoid bone. Yeah, there you go. Good. And so this is the thyroid cartilage of the larynx. The cricoid cartilage is right here. So this whole thing is the larynx. And here's the trachea. Okay. Oh, I just thought of something. Lung.
Whoops.
Okay. Oh, okay. So basically, you follow the trachea down, and we've removed all these, and so you can see right where it begins to branch out. So this would be a primary bronchus here. There's branches off of that, and that goes into this lobe here. I'm not going to blow it up. That's where it goes in right here and immediately branches. So it goes farther in there. Okay. And so basically, this would be the hilus, which is where everything goes in and out. And so basically, you can see another bronchus in here, and so they're going all the way through on both sides. And so let me ask you this: what's the tissue? If I put a pin through that, what tissue do I hit first?
Visceral.
Visceral peritoneum.
No,
Oh,
got the P is right.
pleural.
Pleura.
Pleura.
Yeah. So up here it's the pleura. Down here it's peritoneum.
Okay.
So this is parietal pleura here. Okay. So because this is on the walls, So parietal peritoneum, parietal pleura. Okay. And so basically, if we move things over here, so if we follow, you can see how the trachea goes all the way down into the lungs right here. Here's the trachea. So it follows all the way down right through here, goes into this lung right here. We've already cut one of the lungs out, so you can see that. Behind that, you can see the esophagus here. Basically, I didn't separate it out there, but it goes all the way down through there. If we follow the esophagus down, here's the, what muscle is that? Separates the two
Diaphragm.
cavities? Hmm?
Mesentery?
No, muscle,
Oh.
breathing muscle.
Oh, diaphragm.
I said
Yeah,
diaphragm.
you have it. Go on. Jump on it. Okay, so basically, this penetrates, the diaphragm, the esophagus does right in here. Oh, looks like I nicked it. Oh, dear. And so basically, when you go in this area, you're down into the cardiac sphincter, okay?
Oh.
Or the gastroesophageal sphincter, same thing, right here. And so on the abdominal side of the diaphragm, when you get into it, this is going to be the cardiac region of the heart, right where the esophagus comes in. And then, if we move the heart around, so you can, or the heart, the stomach, cardiac region of the stomach, not the heart. So basically, this rounded area is going to be the fundus, and then back over here you have the body of the stomach, right on this side, and then down as it goes to the bottom end of this, you see it narrows out. So the outside portion here, this is on the greater curvature, we have the greater omentum. On the lesser curvature, you see this other connective tissue here, which is the lesser omentum. So that's coming on the inside curvature right there. And so down as this narrows out, and it is getting narrow here, it basically goes into this region. You see there's a little region right here, and this is hard if you have gloves, it's harder. And then so this is the pyloric region, and then the end of it is the pyloric sphincter. The beginning of this is the duodenum. Okay, so again, what's kind of in the way here is the greater omentum. If I move that out of the way, now you can sort of see what's going on. So here's the duodenum coming in here, and then on the back side of the omentum, you can see the pancreas. Here's the tail of the pancreas, okay? So this is largely outside, the major portion, is inside, but this part's outside of the peritoneum. And so the pancreas, you can see the tissue runs all the way along the inside of the duodenum, all the way this little cottage cheese-like stuff here. And so usually when you get right to this first curvature, this flexure right here, by then you're into the jejunum. Okay. So now most of this area in here, this is all gonna be jejunum. And then, so this tissue that's holding all the vessels and everything is gonna be
The
Nice.
mesentery.
messenger.
So basically, the mesentery represents 2 layers of visceral peritoneum that come together. Now, why is it visceral? Because it's going right around and in contact with the tube itself, okay? So when they come back together, they're actually enclosing the blood vessels and lymphatic vessels that come off of the small intestine and ultimately go back to the liver. So that's important, because if this is all moving around, if you don't have anything to contain them, it's going to rip them away. Okay? So this continues, and you can't tell where you get, where you go from the jejunum to the ileum, at least going posteriorly. You can work backwards once you find the colon. So here's the colon right here, and you can see it's a much thicker structure, but it's not. It's just basically, where this part comes in. Here's the part of the small intestine that's going to be the ileum. Here's the colon right in here. There's a valve that's right here, and you can feel that. Here's the cecum. And so this is going to be the ileocecal valve. Okay, so you have to know where that is, right? But the difference here is on the cat, as I said in class, they have a very short intestinal tract. I mean, even the small intestine is short, but the colon is really short. There's no ascending, transverse, descending, sigmoid. It's up and down.
Yeah.
It basically connects, a little hook, and then it's out, and that's it. Okay. So here's the mesocolons here. You can see those. They're holding it in part of the serous membranes, and the anus isn't really dissected out here, so you don't have to worry about that one. Okay. So another structure that we saw in here when we had this in right configuration is the spleen. And again, this is part of the immune response. That's your spleen right here, much larger than humans. Okay. Then up here, what's this big one here? The liver, right. And so on the back side of the right lobe, you have the gallbladder. That's this green thing. See it? And so if you move that,
Is that
Fun.
green from dye or the bilirubin?
no, that's from the bilirubin. And so, or the bile, essentially, because the gallbladder stores bile. So basically, there's a large duct that comes through here. That's going to be the common bile duct, and it comes into the duodenum.
Oh.
Okay. Let's see what else. The other thing that we talked about too was the kidneys, which you can see here. Again, this is parietal peritoneum. Normally, it sits over the kidney, so if you look at the other side, here's the parietal peritoneum. It's sitting right over the top. There's fat buildup and so on. So the kidneys are retroperitoneal. Okay? So when you remove that, then you can see, you can make out clearly the abdominal aorta, the inferior vena cava, and then here's the renal vein, and then over here also is the renal arteries. You can see that on both of them. Then you have this other tube that comes out right here, which is cut. This is the ureter, which goes into this structure right here. That's the urinary bladder, and there's the other part of the ureter that I'm holding out there. Okay? See, that's not so hard.
Is that it?
I don't know what else we missed.
I don't know.
I mean, there are other things on the model that you can't
Yeah.
see in here. And I think on the female cat,
Can you see any of the lymph node or not? Well, the lymphs.
well, on the female cat, right up in this region, I think this is a piece of it, is part of the adrenal gland, because they're separated. In humans and pigs, the adrenal gland sits right on the top, the anteromedial portion of the kidney. In cats, they're separate. They're right up in there. And on the other one, it's a little bit better defined. And those are the major things that we looked at on the pig here. So I mean, it's not that hard. And these are the big things.
Yeah.
Okay. It's not like you have to find all the arteries and things like that. But just realize that, when you look at the defining between these two major chambers, the defining muscle is the diaphragm. Okay, but it's the muscle of respiration. So when this contracts, it pushes this down. And even if the rib cages don't come up, that expands this, and because there's a negative pressure in the pleural sacs, that causes the lungs to go with it, and that opens up, and, you know, when the patent airway is open because of the trachea, then air goes in there. So it's all based on gradients and pressure.